He introduced me as just his wife, so I let time show them who I really was. There were 78 people at that dinner. Not that I counted on purpose. But when something unforgettable happens, your mind records details you didn't ask for. The soft clink of glasses, the low hum of polite laughter, the way the waiter paused just a second too long when he said it. "This is my wife," he smiled, resting his hand lightly on my shoulder. "She doesn't work anymore, just enjoys life." They chuckled. Not cruelly, not loudly, but enough. Enough to make it real. And in that moment, I felt something I hadn't felt in years, not anger, not even embarrassment. Clarity. Because there's a kind of dismissal that doesn't sting immediately. It settles. Quietly. Like realizing a photograph you've treasured was never really of you at all. We had been married for 32 years. Long enough to build a life that looked stable from the outside. Children grown. House paid off. Dinner parties with matching napkins and polite conversations about travel and grandchildren. The kind of life people compliment. The kind of life that slowly erases the woman you used to be. Because before all of this, before the schedules, the relocations, the we'll figure it out later, I had a career. Not a hobby. Not something to pass time. A career. I worked in organizational consulting, strategy, operations, the kind of work where people listened when you spoke, the kind of work where your name meant something. But somewhere between raising children and supporting his rising career, I stepped back. Not all at once. That's the illusion. You don't disappear dramatically. You fade. Decision by decision. Compromise by compromise. Until one day, someone introduces you and leaves out everything you used to be. If you've ever had a moment where someone reduced your entire life into one small sentence, come on. Not for attention. Just to say you remember too. That night, I didn't correct him. I smiled. I thanked people. I asked about their grandchildren. I played the role I had been performing so well for so long. But something had already shifted. Not loudly. Not visibly. But permanently. The next morning, I woke up before him, made coffee, sat at the kitchen table, and for the first time in years, I opened my old laptop. It still worked. Slowly. But faithfully. Like me. Inside were folders I hadn't touched in over a decade. Presentations. Client reports. Strategic frameworks with my name on them. My name. I stared at it longer than I expected. As if it belonged to someone else. As if I needed permission to recognize her again. There's a strange feeling that comes with rediscovery. It's not excitement. Not at first. It's discomfort. Because you're meeting a version of yourself you abandoned. And realizing she never really left. She just waited. Quietly. I didn't make any announcements. No declarations. No dramatic conversations. Because reinvention doesn't need witnesses. It needs decisions. I started small. Updated my resume. Not perfectly. Not impressively. Just honestly. Then I reached out to one person. An old colleague. We hadn't spoken in years. I expected awkwardness. Politeness. Maybe even silence. Instead, she replied within 2 hours. "I've wondered what happened to you." That sentence stayed with me. Not because of regret, but because of possibility. Within 3 weeks, I had my first consulting opportunity. A small company. Struggling quietly. The kind of struggle most people don't see until it's too late. They didn't know me. They didn't care about my past. They only cared if I could help. And for the first time in years, I was evaluated for what I could do. Not for how well I supported someone else. The project took 12 days. 12 focused, uninterrupted days. I analyzed their structure, their inefficiencies, their blind spots. And I saw it immediately. Because once you've done this kind of work, you never really stop seeing. I delivered my recommendations. Clear, direct, measurable. They implemented them. Within a month, they saved more than they had in the previous year. They asked me to stay. By the 3rd month, I had more work than I expected. By the 6th, I had more than I planned. And somewhere along the way, I stopped introducing myself as retired. He noticed. Of course he did. Change doesn't stay hidden forever. "You've been busy lately," he said one evening. "I have." "With what?" "Work." He laughed. Softly. Familia. The same kind of laugh from that dinner. Not unkind. Just dismissive. "What kind of work?" he asked. "The kind I used to do," I said. That was the first time he really paused. Looked at me. Not as background. Not as support. But as something unexpected. If you've ever seen that moment, when someone realizes they underestimated you. Come in. It's quiet, but it changes everything. Months passed. I continued building something that felt mine. Not flashy. Not public. But real. And then one evening, something happened. He came home later than usual. Tired. Careful. The way people are when they're about to ask for something. "Can I talk to you?" he said. "Of course." He sat down across from me. Not beside me. Across. Like a conversation that required attention. There's a situation at work, he said. And as he explained it, I recognized it immediately. Not the exact details, but the pattern. The kind of problem I had just solved for someone else. Successfully. I could use your perspective, he said. There it was. Not acknowledgement. Not yet. But something close. Dependence. I listened. Carefully. Then I asked one question. What happened to I don't work? He shifted slightly. I didn't mean it like that. How did you mean it? It was just a joke. I shook my head. No, I said gently. It was a definition. Silence. The kind that makes people think, not react. Think. I didn't offer immediate help. Not out of spite. Out of respect. For myself. Instead I said, I'd be happy to look at it professionally. He frowned slightly. What do you mean? I said calmly, I'll send you my consulting terms. That night, I wrote a proposal. Clear. Structured. No emotion. No history. Just value. Scope of work. Timeline. Compensation. Attribution. Because this time, I wasn't going to be invisible. He read it the next morning. Slowly. Twice. You're serious? He asked. Yes. Another pause. Different this time. Not confusion. Recognition. He signed. I worked on the project for 9 days. 9 focused, deliberate days. And when I finished, the solution was undeniable. Clear. Effective. Profitable. He presented it to his team. But this time, my name was on it. Not as a footnote. Not as a quiet mention. But as the author. No one laughed. A few weeks later, we attended another event. Smaller. More intentional. And once again, he introduced me. This is my wife, he said. Then he paused. And pauses matter, because they mean something is being reconsidered. She's a consultant, he continued. And she's been instrumental in several of our recent projects. No jokes. No dismissal. Was it enough? Because recognition after years of invisibility is not the same as respect earned in real time. But it was something else. Correction. And correction matters. Because it means the story has changed. We didn't have a dramatic ending. No sudden decisions. No loud conclusions. Because life, especially later in life, is rarely that simple. But something fundamental shifted. Not in him. In me. Because once you remember who you are, you can't unknow it. Once you see your value clearly, you can't accept being minimized again. Sometimes I think back to that dinner. The laughter. The casual assumptions. The way people agreed without thinking. And I wonder, did they know? Maybe not. But he did. And now, so do I. If you've ever had to quietly rebuild yourself, without permission, without applause, without anyone noticing at first. Comment, not for validation, but as a quiet acknowledgement that you chose yourself again, and that matters more than anything anyone ever says about you.